Good day, folks, and Happy New Year from the Patriot and the Lama. We love you all. We're going to give it a couple seconds here to let people jump on. I don't say a couple minutes, I say a couple seconds. But today is something that we've all been waiting to hear from Master Lama Rasaji, and that is about the true story of the Garden of Eden. So this is really exciting. So make sure that you share this video, this live, or share it afterwards. Get it out there, share it on Facebook, share it wherever you need to share it, and get people to listen to this. This is very, very important. We're talking about the beginning, the exact moment of creation of man and woman on this planet, and not based on some of the story you've told got truth in it. Master Lama Rasaji is going to go over that, but a lot of stuff you have not been told. And again, why is that? Because they do not want you to step into your power. Because once you step into your power, they have no control over you. Okay. So again, Happy New Year. We are so blessed. Episode 34. These episodes are going fast. We love you all. We send love and light to you and your family. This is going to be the best year of your life, 2022. And let's talk to the Lama here for a moment. How you doing, Master Lama Rasaji, today?
I'm doing wonderful, Patriot Jimmie. Glad to be here. Love the subject matter. Been doing a lot of research this past week. I think you're going to enjoy hearing about the research as much as hearing about the subject, but really excited.
It is very exciting. And again, from the Lost Books Bible app that I got on my note phone, and you can get it on Apple, you can get it on Note. I read the actual books of Adam and Eve, and I had read it now for the second time. And my goodness gracious, those books should be in all the scriptures, whatever religion that it's in, that creation of man and woman, and then the obstacles and the triumphs that they faced and the regret that they had it's amazing story. Everybody should hear it. And I'm so excited to really hear this from you for the first time. I mean, you've given me little bits and pieces, but the Patriot ain't heard the whole story. So again, folks, make sure to share this with everybody. Everyone that's on this live, you're going to get a beautiful feeling of energy. You're going to get blessing. People that are watching this the same way. We're watching things going on by people plugging into the Circle of Life, the 45-day challenge, which is 100% free on Rasaji.com, that I cannot believe. I was telling somebody today, out of all the businesses that I'm involved with and all the partners, this one sits at the very top of transformation of people's lives for the better. And then Bodyline's right under it. But I mean, we're talking testimonials that folks, you got to go to the site and read them. And if you want some of that, listen to what we're talking about and get into that, involved in that 45-day challenge. So Master Lama Rasaji, you ready to go?
Let's do it. Patriot
All right.
Jimmie.
Okay. And we're ready to go at 3 minutes in. So that's awesome. Okay. So the very first question is, did Adam and Eve happen the way the Bible claims it did?
Yeah, for the most part, the simplest answer is yes, it did. It's just now when you get into the concept of the time frame, the location, and being specific about like how long Adam was here before Eve showed up and all that, we're going to get into those particulars today. But the short answer is yes.
Except again, just as episode 21, the lost journey of Jesus Christ, you want to call whatever you call the Son or the second entity from the Spirit, or the third, you had said, that one of the religious organizations says the Father, the Son, and Holy Spirit, but really it was the entity, the Spirit, and then that creation. So and again, we don't have to argue about that because I wasn't there, but the Lama series has been around for over 3,300 years. It's got records. It was there from Christ's birth till Christ's ascension. And it does have records untouched by any government, by any king, queen, politician. So this is going to be a really exciting story. So let's dig right into it, and let's talk about what time frame in history did this take place, and some of these things that you're talking about right now.
Well, for the most part, scientists, archaeologists, everybody, clergy, they've been investigating this for some time. And about 2013, which was an interesting year, they came into somewhat of an agreement within about actually 20,000 years on the planet. And that was that Adam showed up. God created Adam, and Adam showed up between 180 to 200,000 years ago. Now, the good news is the Lamasery has even got more specific than that. They have narrowed it down between 173 to 175,000 years ago. Adam showed up. Now, a lot of people, when they think about, somebody shows up and they think about the birthing process itself, there's two things here that need to be said that makes anything logical at this sense. And that is, Adam didn't show up the way that Jesus showed up. We know that Jesus a lot of times is referred to as the second Adam. We've talked about that many times, but Adam doesn't go through the messiness being a baby born of a woman and then having to go through diapers and all that kind of. Adam shows up somewhere actually chronologically between 130 to 230 years old when God actually, basically, there's no other word to put it, materializes Adam on the surface of the earth. So
You mean 200,000, like 100 and some thousand to 200,000?
No, I
right?
mean his actual age of his physical vehicle.
Oh,
He is actually, when God manifests as him, he's not a baby, he's not a teenager, he's a full grown man. Now, he looks today like a healthy 30-year-old, maybe even a healthy upper 20-year-old, but his chronological age is between 130 and about 230. And, Lamaser kind of picked the middle road, 150, 180, right? So he shows up at that. So that's a big deal because most people didn't know that. That's a big deal. The other thing that you need to know is that Genesis refers to, the 6, 7 days of creation in the Judean Christian Bible. And a lot of people get confused that, a day and a night of God is like a day and a night today. They try to make that reference there. But when you examine the City Yoga heritage, the Lamasery's heritage that goes way back before world religions were even thought about coming into being, uh, they all agree that a day and a night of God is about 12 to 24,000 year cycles. And if you cycle that out, Lamasery says that we're about 6.5 cycles into a day and night of God. Now, why is this important? Because this particular birth starts those cycles. And that confirms that the human being as we know today in Adam was seeded by Abba. And that is important to know, Jimmie.
yeah, that's powerful because most people are hearing that a day and a night is 1,000 years, but it's and now you're finding on Earth DNA from human beings back over 100,000 plus years. So again, this is all kept away from us because people they don't want us to know what really is going on. Again, they don't want you to step into your power. So it's very
Exactly.
interesting, that there there's a lot. The Adam and Eve story in the Bible, okay, the King
Right.
James Bible,
Right.
and again, it could be told in other religions in other ways, but there's so little about it. I mean, so little about it. When you go to the lost books and you read the two different books that Adam and Eve apparently dictated or wrote, my goodness gracious, you want to hear that information. Then you start bringing all this information in that the Lamasery, who's been around 3,300 plus years, has gathered together. That I'm sure they're doing their due diligence. They had people there again when Christ was birthed, and then from ascension. Let's go to the next question, because it doesn't really clearly state, where did all this happen? Like, where is this happening? Where is this first human being placed? So the next question is, what part of the world did this occur in?
Well, and that's very interesting. It also brings into question, because as you know, reading the lost books of the Bible, Jimmie, you're aware of, so we know human DNA existed pretty much between 350 and 400,000 years. We have to ask ourselves, if God did this kind of restart, number one, why did he do the restart? What led to the original human DNA 350 to 400,000 years ago? And the basic answer is also part of Scripture is also right on about this, that there was an intermingling with angels and humans and demons and humans, some satanic and some angelic in nature. That was allowed to go on for a period of time. God, the Father, Abba, decided he wanted to do a restart, and he wanted to protect his DNA from being contaminated on the earth. This was the moment that he decided to impart part of his own DNA into human DNA, and Adam became the first line of that. And that is very powerful when you think about it. Now, location, if you go back, you don't have to go back too far, but if you go back to post Atlantean and Lemurial time, which corresponds with the Great Flood that we know of with Noah in the Bible, before that happened, the continents that we know them today were greatly manipulated after that flood. And then, of course, wars and battles and people, confiscating real estate, those two things changed the whole area where Adam was originally born. And that area today we would know as part of the country of India. But India at that time was about 50% larger than even India is today. And India is pretty big to start with. Not only was India altered, but the small country northeast of there called Nepal, and also Tibet. In those days, what today would be considered a major part of China, during the warlord times, those countries were 2 to 3 times the landmass that they are today. And if you think of India, 50% bigger, Nepal and Tibet, 3 times larger than they are today. In that landmass, in the north to central part of India, is actually where God the Father, Abba, materialized the body and put his DNA into the human being that is referred to as Adam in the Bible. Jimmie.
Yeah, so I got some questions for you that are coming up from your statement about the 300 to 350,000 years where they found human DNA on this planet, and so there was creation before Abba's DNA in Adam, before Adam,
Exactly.
and so I don't know if this. Yeah, this is really interesting because you have this battle between religion. Let me put my hands on. You have this battle between religion and then us evolving out of apes, right?
Right.
Out of prehistoric people. But there could there have been prehistoric people that weren't part of Abba's DNA and were before Adam and the
Well,
dinosaurs? And I mean,
yeah.
all of that stuff that was going on. We're finding all these dinosaur fossils. We're finding, people that don't look, they resemble a human being, but they weren't a human being.
Right.
Is this what was going on prior to Adam?
There were more what you would refer to as a mongoloid type of being, if you will, not today what we know as human. With that being said, remember, at different times, darkness has ruled the planet, and at different times, light has ruled the planet. During the day and nights of God, the 12 to 24 cycles over the 6.5 times, there was interaction between life forms from other places. You can fill in the blanks what you want. You could call them extraterrestrials if you like, but you can look at angelic and demonic, and at different times they came in. Well, this led to Abba acting. He says, a lot of times people go, where's God in all of this? When things are happening, man, is God an absent God, right? Well, if you understand what we covered during the Patriot and the Lama sessions, the month of Advent, and then go back to episode 21 about the lost journey of Jesus and put that together, obviously God the Father stepped in then. But he stepped in 173,000 years before the birth of Christ to say, you know what? I want to level the playing field, and I want this species to have its chance to evolve like he imaged it for us to evolve. But he realized in order to do that, he had to input his DNA into human. And up until then, directly, there wasn't that input put in. So from that point of view, you can call it a new creation if you want to, but that's exactly how it was laid out. Now, let me tell some people some things I think y'all will find very interesting. We have, as most people know, we've been clearly stated that we have probably the best documentation from a historical point of view on spirituality, how the human race began, and even how religions came into being and when they came actually into being, more than anybody. But we also have a research level that I want to share with the audience now that most people will find very interested. See, we have not only research from the third dimension, we have research from the fourth and the fifth dimension. And llamas have the ability to tap the Akashic records. We have the ability to go into those dimensions. And some of the apparatuses you see now with the virtual reality headsets, well, we have some engineering llamas that have developed virtual headsets. They have a screen in the lamasery that's 120 inches. So imagine your biggest LCD TV. Most people, it's like 60 to 80 inches, right? We have one 120. We are able to have llamas take these virtuals. A half a dozen of us llamas go into the fourth and fifth dimension and project the past as if it's the present right on the screen for the younger masters and llamas who don't have the ability to see it in God's omnipresent projected there. So they did this recently. I was there in Spirit Body this past week when they were doing a session. And when they unfolded,
and can you, I want to interrupt you for 1 second now. So
sure.
The records that you referred to, can you tell everybody what those records are?
Records
cache that you said that you can access.
Akashic records are dating back the total human existence on this planet, and not only this planet, other places, but it's a recording of human souls incarnating. But there's also in there the recorded history of everything that's happened in the 3D.
Okay.
So when we're looking at that, now this is going to be really cool. when we're looking at that and they're projecting on the screen. Now, this screen is a 3D screen with a 3D projection operative. So once everybody was attuned into the same vibration, it created from the screen a hologram. And it literally put the llamas in the Garden of Eden as if they had gone back 170,000 years ago. And so when we say we know things, it's as close, Jimmie, to firsthand as you can get. And this thing, it was amazing. When I saw Eden, trees were so huge. The branches, there were actually different forms of life forms, some human, some not, that were literally living in trees. And they would go from one province to the other by walking on branches that were big enough to drive a Volkswagen over. That's how wide the branches were.
Oh, I can imagine.
And vegetation was off the chart how big. There were watermelons as big as humans, squashes. It was huge.
We have not been good stewards of Mother Earth. That's
No,
for
we
sure.
haven't.
And I know people's heads right now are going boom, but I can tell you from firsthand experience, okay, that Master Lama Rasaji absolutely can travel through spirit to about anywhere he wants. And let me give you a little example that I had happen to me, not including one that will be going public with the people soon with. It'll blow your freaking minds, okay? But my wife was flying to Dominican Republic. Some of you might have heard this story before. I've only talked about it a couple times, I think, but I need to say it now because of what Master Lama Rasaji just said. And my wife is terrified of flying, okay? So as she's in the air flying from Austin to Miami, then to go from Miami to Dominican Republic, the turbulence are just throwing her all over, throwing everybody all over the plane. It's getting crazy. She's panicking. There's a pilot going to the Miami to be on another plane. She's panicking and she's crying out. And who shows up? Master Lama Rasaji shows up and holds her hand, and she calms down with a calmness that she could not even believe. Now, my wife doesn't believe in anything like that. Okay. You know what I mean? I mean, for her to call me up when she landed and to tell me that story at the same time, I get a call from him and he's telling me on the other end, these two aren't talking. I'm getting it in one ear and in the other ear. Talk about confirmation. My wife's Latino. I've been with her 32 years. She's my soulmate. She's my mi amor. And she got female intuition like you don't even understand. And she is a skeptic on anything. You know what I mean? Whether it was Bodyline products until she tried them, she's a skeptic. No matter what. Guess what? She's been doing Tai Chi Gong now, past the 45-day challenge, had that experience, and then even on the way back called and it got calmed down again. So what is going on? Also at one time, Master Lama Rasaji, you were seen at 3 places at one time by multiple witnesses at each location.
And late 75, after I had been with Master Lama Boyang in Washington Square in New York City, in what they refer to as the Seoul Whole District, which is just a little bit north of Little Italy in Chinatown. And a very popular area of culturally, I mean, it's off the chart. It's a true melting pot for the world, really. All nationalities are there. And we were in the Washington Square, and I'd been taking class for about 6 or 8 months. And we were doing the Tai Chi dance, what they refer to as the form. And there's about 28 movements in our small little form. And about the 7th or 8th movement, you're making that first 180-degree turn. And then making that first 180-degree turn, I looked at the Lama, and it was no longer 1975, 76 in New York City. It was a time, I don't know how far back, but the master's total attire had changed from Tibetan to more Chinese orientation. and there were pagodas in the background. And I mean, pagodas that had to have been at least centuries old and were just absolutely, I saw a palace in the background. And by that time, I didn't realize that I was going through my latter part of second birth Kundalini. And as I was buckling at the knees, a couple students saw that I was going to fall to the surface, and they eased me down to the surface. And when I was going down, I was still semi-conscious. And they looked at Master Boyang and they said, "Master, what is happening to Rasaji?" And the master said, "Oh, he's awakening and he's remembering who he is and what he's supposed to do." Simultaneously, there was a retreat, a vision quest being conducted by my Cherokee Indian friend in St. Simons, Georgia that week. I showed up there, was witnessed by a dozen people of putting my arm around my friend. That was the day of the Polaroid, and that they Polaroid us. And today he still has that picture hanging in his bedroom on his chest of drawers and windows to remind him the power of spirit. There was enough of me that materialized at that time to record on a photo. Simultaneously, there's 12 to 15 witnesses in the Lamasery where I showed up 2.5 years before I would show up again, Jimmie, physically to train for over 3 or 4 years. Oh, the Lama's coming to visit us. Little Lama was the joke, right? I always called me Little Lama. And so there I was, and I'm in 3 locations simultaneously with 3 different sets of witnesses. Over the next week, they're all in communications with them, praising Abba, praising the power of spirit in me. I mean, I thought I was losing my mind. I mean, I was 18 going on 19 years old. I thought I was losing my mind. But fortunately for me, I had lived enough on the other side and had enough what's called bilocation, which is the separation of spirit body in one location. This was 3 times location, but we're all doing this, Jimmie, but most of us never catch the awareness that we're doing this.
Right. And so even there's a patent in the US Patent Office that if you line up all your chakras to a certain frequency, you can walk through walls. Okay.
Right.
So people don't understand the power they truly have. And they got to start. You know, we were talking earlier, and we're going to get more because I got more questions about poor Adam and Eve too. And we keep this journey going, folks. We're going to be here about another 30 minutes before, we get into answering questions. And then, of course, always we'll end this with a prayer and an invitation to join us with the 45-day challenge. But, we were talking about spiritual in front of anything. Like we always talk about spiritual patriots. That's how, the Patriot and the Lama show, because we wanted to bring more spiritual patriots and help create, help evolve more spiritual patriots to bring the light, to bring the love, to bring the transformation on this planet that is needed because it's built on sand. Everything's built on sand right now. The government's built on sand. The economy's built on sand. The healthcare system's built on sand. And most of it's quicksand. To be honest, it ain't even sand, it's quicksand. So one of the things that I keep getting in discernment and through the spirit is that 2022 is going to be a great shaking. It's going to be a great blessing for those that are grounded and are spending time building the relationship with the creator, regardless of what you call the creator. I call the creator Abba, Yahuwah. I call the son Yahushua. I call the spirit the Holy Spirit. Master Lama Rasaji calls him Rabbi Master Jesus. We're not going to get into the debate over that, right? But if you're truly building a relationship with the creator of all things and you've got discernment with the spirit and all that, this 2022 is going to be an amazing year for you, better than you've ever seen in your entire life. Just like 2021 I couldn't even believe what was going on, right? And now I'm told that it's going to be way bigger, way faster, and quicker. And guess what? We're 6 days into this year, and it's already happening. It started happening right from the beginning. So it's so important that spiritual relationship with Creator is the foundation of your life in everything. I don't care if it's spiritual patriot, spiritual mother, spiritual father, spiritual doctor, so whatever it is, spiritual and the relationship with the Creator enhances things for the better 1,000-fold.
Amen.
1,000-fold. And it's not, oh, well, who's this Jimmie Schwinn? Hey, look, I'm going to tell you something. I'm watching it happen in my life like I've never seen it before. I've been studying law of attraction for 30 years. And since the Lama and I hooked back up again in this lifetime, we've been hooked up in other lifetimes fighting evil, okay, in wars and all kinds of stuff. But things has escalated even faster. And I'm, now it's going to even be faster. And it can be that way for everybody watching this live and everybody watching this recording. If you do those things, how long does it take me? I'm in my corner over here, 45 minutes in the morning, reading my prayer book, 1 hour for man, and reading my daily prophecy book and doing my prayers outside of that. And then I stop and I study with the word, different things that I want to find out, information that I want to learn. And then I'm right into my Tai Chi Gong. And that's how I start my morning off. And I'm doing it for 25 minutes with my wife. We're doing it together every day. And I got to tell you, folks, I'm watching it transform her right in front of my eyes. People that known me and seen me, because I've been on the internet, I've been on webinars. People know who I am. Some people, not everybody, but they're commenting, I can't believe what's going on. This stuff works. Okay. It's right. And you're going to feel it in your spirit. And you're going to feel, we're going to give you the truth. The Lamasery wants to bring out the truth. And some people say, well, why haven't they done it before? Well, the human race wasn't ready for it. You're all ready for it now. That's the only reason I'm back here. I didn't have to come back this time. Neither did Master Lama Rasaji. But we're here for this purpose. And we're just servants. This isn't about us. All the glory and the honor and praise goes to the Creator, His Son, and the Spirit. Okay, not us. All right.
Amen.
But let's get back to this because this is pretty awesome. And again, you're talking about before Adam, which was the first creation with the Creator's DNA. There were creatures, and there are still creatures, demonic, angelic, that are here today. I mean, unless you're walking around blind.
Right.
This was more of like, is that where we got all the prehistoric stuff, the dinosaurs, and then all of a sudden the big comet hits, creates the Gulf of Mexico, takes out all life on the planet.
Right.
That was what was going on prior to Adam.
Right. Well, we've had several times. We've had the comet. We've had the Great Flood with Noah, as we know. That's timed also during the sinking of Atlantis and Lemur, which were, by the way, beside two totally different continents. That's how big the flood was. I mean, the Atlantis was off the coast of Florida. A lot of people don't know that. That's part of the reason the Lama resides in Florida. That's another episode of the Patriot Lama sure to come. Lemur was off the coast where Europe and the Middle East is today, more closer to the Mediterranean. So that's how big the flood was. And then when it started, we've had these several restarts, right? Yep. And I'll talk more in plan. Adam shows up again later in history before Christ is even incarnated.
I know, that's when I see that question. That's the last question. So, and people don't, I was always taught, reincarnation, that's evil, that's demonic. Don't think that. Oh, meditation, yoga, thinking what you say actually comes true.
Right.
Oh, frequencies. What a bunch of malarkey that they're feeding everyone to
Yeah.
keep them from stepping into their power.
That's right.
And the Llama and the Patriot are going to show you as we step in this lifetime into our full power that you're going to watch happen right in front of your eyes. We want you to come and step in with us.
Absolutely.
And let's transform this world together like no one's ever seen, ever. Because again, you said many times, Master Lama Rasaji, there's never been this many people on the planet at one time.
There's never been this many unconscious alongside of conscious. What does that tell you? Now, what I'm going to say right now, based on Jimmie's statement, is really should tingle you to your very soul, to your very sharat. And that is, there are more descendants of Adam that are on the planet right now that are waking up than have ever existed on the planet. That means with God's DNA inside of them. And that's what the 144,000 makes reference to. Now, there's two references of the 144,000. We need a minimum of that. Doesn't have anything to do with the maximum. We can get more, fine. But it'll take a minimum of people knowing they are a descendant of Adam to turn that life on. The other reference to the 144,000 is there's actually 144,000 parathyroids in the human being. And as we switch on to from 110 electricity to 220, we're going to switch all those parathyroids on. What will that do? Well, Jimmie made reference to balancing the chakras. Well, Tai Chi Gun practice does that, also wearing moonstone. This is why you see me now in moonstone prayer beads. They balance the chakras. These beads are so cold, they're actually maintain a coldness colder than the temperature that's in my house because they were designed like that to calm and cool you down to center your chakras, right? So I want you to think about what's happening here. So everything is in alignment. All of you, when you wake up and get into your Kundalini enough, get into what Jesus referred to as second birth of the Father enough, then the parathyroids take the Father's DNA and just turn it full on. And then in full on, what does that mean? Well, Albert Einstein said that we were only using maybe 10 to 15% of our facility, right?
Yep.
What is going to happen is that with everybody within the first decade that gets turned on, that's going to minimally double. And what's going to happen when you're used to using only 10 to 15%? Now you're using 25 to 30%. Well, those are the people that the Lama has been studying with for the last 50 years. They're 30% and beyond. And you can't even imagine what a human being is beyond 30% facility activated. And I've trained with some of those too.
So let me ask you a question. So I got this what popped into my head real quick. The movie Lucy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, she that
perfect example.
Yeah, and then there's some drug that gets in her stomach, and boom, the mind's opening up.
Right.
These are the kind of capabilities that people that are accessing more of their capabilities are capable of doing.
In the Celestine Prophecy with James Redfield, as you know, it's one of the recommended readings in the Circle of Life. And that is, as you progress through his trilogy, he now has 4 books out. So as you go through the 10th Insight, Shangri-La, and you move through it, there is this person called Neil, right, in there, and he keeps evolving constantly. Now, the author is evolving a little bit, but Neil is giving up all fear and he's going into his full power, and he's able to honor what Christ says when somebody asks him about death. And he says, death, is the dreary back door to the other side. There is a door of glory for those who overcome, and that door swings both ways.
Right.
That's who we are. That's who we are, Jimmie.
Well, and so, because the organizations of, the religious organizations always cut, well, dinosaurs, there was no, but there are fossils all over the place. Oh, there was no life before Adam and Eve, but there's fossils all over the place that this planet had massive life. And now when you talk about this was not a day and a year of the creator is 1,000 years. We're literally talking 24,000 years cycle,
right?
12 and a half thousand years per day, 12 and a half thousand years per night. Right. Now all of this starts to make a lot more sense because it's and I don't want to get political because we're YouTube friendly. We want to be on YouTube. We want to pull people in from Facebook and YouTube because that's what we're all about. But they feel they can just feed the population of the world any garbage and they're going to buy it. And unfortunately, a lot of people do buy it. I hear a lot of people talking about, 80% of the population is awake. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Really? 80% of the population's awake? I don't think so. No. We're lucky if 20% of the population is awake. Right. It doesn't take a big percentage of people to step into their power to transform this planet with the creator, the spirit, and the sun like no one's ever seen before. And that is the mercy and the love that the creator has for us. That's such a small percentage of human beings can transform this planet in a way that the other 7 billion can't stop.
Yeah. I mean, the reality is, Jimmie, is that according to Lama theory, we either have to have 144,000 that are willing to go through complete transformation and get on the other side of second birth, which I experienced that at that time of trilocation. I didn't realize that, but I was coming to the completion of my cycle. After that, my endocrine gland system quit working just like a normal endocrine gland system. Even my organs quit just being a combustible engine, breaking down nutrition and eliminating the waste of that nutrition. They became woofers and tweeters, and the whole fourth and fifth dimension opened up to me. Now we need 144,000 people like that, or we need to wake up about 1 billion people on the planet. I mean, this really wake up enough to understand today our message and go, oh my God, that is so much truth. That's real. See, what we really need to do is to get you out of either the box mentality, right? Get you out of the limit mentality into no limit mentality. Then your conscious mind will accelerate. According to Maha Master Bo Yang, the truest of all miracle is a change in human consciousness. If we can get 1 billion people just to shift, just to make that first shift and just get them into birth, starting, we can change this whole planet.
But you don't need that many, though, right?
We need 144,000, Jimmie, committed souls to say, I'm going to get her done and do whatever it takes. And it's somewhere between the 144,000 and the 1 billion is why we even created the circle of life. Because it's Abba's age to teach people they don't need a mediator. God bless the religions of the world. God bless the finding of science and the arts. You're going to find out if you do enough digging. When Jimmie said earlier that spirituality has to be at the root of everything, it's the Siddha yogas, the lamas, the Essenes, the Cherokee Indians, the Hopi Indians, the angels on the mountain at Monte Picchu for 36,000 years, talking about a dedication. It's these beings that have created that atmosphere for change and us to go right from the caterpillar into the butterfly.
Yes.
And this
Fast.
is what this whole thing is about. Jesus says you cannot skip steps. But what Jesus would be the first to admit, only you can determine what that time element is. You. And if Abba is omnipresent, why don't you make it now? Why don't you do the 45-day challenge? That's why it was given to the human race. Where did it start? It started with the Lama being the first to do the 45-day challenge on a mountaintop, going over from 1979 to 1980. I'm on a mountaintop by myself, no human beings, no llamas. And now I'm going through the 45-day challenge. When I came down that mountain on the 46th day, I knew I would never be the same. And I knew that God in your life and being first in your life, you could do anything. You could absolutely do anything. And all the masters of the world, think about this, how powerful. If all we said was, imagine how powerful Krishna was in India, and then Hinduism came into being. Imagine how powerful Buddha was, and then Buddhism came into being. Imagine how powerful Jesus was, and then Christianity. Those three beings were so, and they were three people. They changed the course of this whole planet. And when all those religions started initially, even though none were started by those three people, it was good. It was some training. It was the beginning of you supposed to be turning around. And then they all got manipulative and they got agendas. But the point being, they have influenced billions of people. And this is what you need to know. Not in one lifetime. Some of you all, the only reason that you were born in the race today that you're born in, so that you have no problem with that race. Did you ever think about that? You think sometimes the world wants to sell us that we're racist, but really, have you ever thought about the reason you're incarnated, whether you're white, brown, yellow, red, is because so that you would forgive everything that race has done and move forward. Also, think about this. If you were born into poverty, don't be shocked to find out in one lifetime you were wealthy. And maybe when a poverty person came up to you, you turned your back on them. And Jesus said, give to the least of me, and you're giving to me. So think about why we are. And how many times have you been Buddhist? How many times have you been Hindu? How many times have you been Muslim? How many times have you been Christian or Jewish? Or how many times were you part of the drawing priestship? Or maybe you were an Essene. Maybe you were a woman who was the Essene. And you were the most offended when Christ Jesus was on that cross, because you felt like he had deserted you, not knowing in reality he had liberated you. Jimmie.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's go to the next question here. And hopefully everybody is finding this good information to help you. We're here to serve you and help you to move forward. Okay. And we work on that every second of the day, and you need to work on it every second of the day. Again, I'm going to tell you very clearly, you're not going to be able to have your foot in and out. The gray area is being removed. Okay. So you're going to have to be all into the light or all into the darkness. And believe me, you don't want to be all into the darkness because they ain't going to last. Okay. It's going to be minimized down to such a small percentage that a lot of these people are going to be getting vacated from this planet. Right. And it's going to be supernaturally by the creator because he's out about at it, okay, with all this horrible stuff that's going on a daily basis, on a second by second basis. So let's talk about, and again, if you have not read the lost books and start with the books of Adam and Eve first, let's talk about we know that Adam and Eve sinned, against the creator. So what sins were passed down from the behavior of Adam and Eve to all of us?
Well, the biggest was that the issue on mortality and immortality, that was the numeral uno, because imparting God's DNA. Remember, you've heard us, Jimmie and me too, were almost out of breath, say God's way and God's law is not man's way and man's law. And that was supposed to be imparted on the spine and the back of Adam. And it was for a certain period. And again, when you're looking at that 900, 1200 year period there that Adam was here, you have to understand when he started doing what he's doing, it didn't just happen in a year or so. It happened over a period of time. God was watching him. And for a while, even though Adam was unconscious a lot of what to do in the beginning, like we all are. When you start praying with prayer beads, do you know what you're doing? When you start doing the figure eight, do you know what you're doing? When you start feeling differently doing the figure eight, do you know what that is? Well, Adam was the same way. So as he began to kind of turn from God, to be tempted by the devil to do what he wants, right? You got to understand, as you come into your power, when do you think temptation really shows its head? When you have no power? The devil doesn't care about you if you have no power. He doesn't care about you. Go on and do. If you're whoring around, if you're drinking your life away, or if you're shooting a needle in your arm, man, he loves you, but he don't think the first thought about you because he has you captivated. Who he fears? He fears what we're doing on the Patriot Lama. He fears how many of you are going to get the message. How many of you going to go to COL and do the 45-day challenge? He fears that the most. How many people? Are we going to do thousands, millions, or tens of millions? How many people? That's what you start coming into your power. He's going into his hat of tricks. What can I do? Can I send him a pretty woman on the internet? Can I stop him in traffic and get out and give him liquor that's 500 years old? What can I do to tempt him? Can I sucker him into believing that, something's going to happen, and he's going to win like the lotto times 100 million people, right? Now I'm telling you, I'm going to give you a preview about tomorrow morning's Daily Lama. And the title of it, There's a Storm Coming.
Oh, yeah, boy.
And in the storm, I'm primarily talking about a financial storm.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm making the case, are you going to, the Sage of the South on our episode yesterday of the Masterminds, and as you get into our memberships down the road one day, you'll look at Masterminds, but the Sage of the South, Joseph Land, who is a master in business, he made a real powerful statement. He said, if the world went financially to hell in a handbasket tomorrow, my house would be in order. That's a really strong thing. I'm going to ask you today, if that happens, would your financial house be in order? And if you're not sure, or the answer is no, don't mess tomorrow morning's Daily Lama. It's about 15 or 20 minutes that'll give you an idea how to get out of that. Jimmie.
Yeah, and the greatest wealth transfer in the world is happening now from the wicked to the righteous. And if you're not on the side of receiving, you need to work as hard as you ever have worked in your life to be. And again, it all starts with your spiritual foundation, your relationship with the Creator, and stop making excuses.
Amen.
People that know me, I've trained thousands of people I've coached. Okay. And some people may go, Jim, you're mean, you're no, I'm not mean. I love people. I really, truly do. But I have no time to waste. So I'm going to call it how it is, and let's move through it, and let's get her done, because there is no time to waste. You better be doing it now. And we're going to show you what the 45-day challenge is, okay? It's free. You don't even understand the amount of investment that have went into this platform, Master Lama Rasaji does, to be able to do this for you folks, okay? Because we want to help save as many people as we can. That's our purpose, okay? That's our purpose. Yes, you have to live in the now, in this moment. You need to do what you need to do to move forward, because the shaking, not only in the financial system, but on the planet, the shaking that's going to happen in 2022 and beyond is going to terrify some people. Not me, not Master Lama Rasaji, but a lot of people are going to be terrified. And a lot of people have been terrified the last 2 years with everything that's been going on. I haven't been. Greatest 2 years of my life. And this one's going to even be better. What you focus on, you become. What you vibrate out, frequency-wise, comes to you. Everyone I know that complains and focuses on all the drama and the fear porn and all of that, they got all kinds of crazy stuff going on in their life because they're a magnet for it. What kind of magnet are you going to be? You really have a choice. You do. Make it the right choice, and make sure that you learn from Master Lama Rasaji, and hopefully from me a little bit. I give you a little juice there. And you move forward in a way that you've never moved forward in your life. Again, folks, I'm not about who I am. I'm a servant and a steward for the Most High, the creator of all things. I came here with nothing this time around. I will leave here with nothing except what I've been able to help do, the destiny that's been set out for me. And you have a destiny set out for you. Are you going to grab it? Are you going to own it? Are you going to declare it? And do you even know it? Because the more closer you get to the Heavenly Father, the creator of all things, Abba, whatever you call him again, the more you're going to know what you're here for. Okay? So, we talked about the sins passed on from Adam and Eve, and it was again, everyone needs to read the Lost Books app. It's free. Adam and Eve, the books of Adam and Eve are in there. It really gets into detail. Adam killed himself multiple times. The creator had to bring him back to life. He threw himself off a freaking mountain. He was so sorrowful for what happened. This garden was sitting there right above where he was, and the most beautiful thing ever, and he couldn't access it anymore. And his life and Eve's life was hard in the cave of treasures. Hard. You need to understand that story. You need to read that story and understand that sin is in all of us. But you can, you said something the other day, Master Lama Rasaji, about, I think it was this morning on your Patriot or your Daily Lama, about as you get closer with the Creator, as you truly move down the path of righteousness and light and love, you care about what you're doing. You care about what you're saying. You care about what you're writing and what you're responding to. I can tell you, usually through these Mercury retrogrades, the bull in me would come out. And I am amazed at the transformation that Abba is doing within myself to handle things. And I got a lot going on. Okay. Yes, so if I can do it, any of you can do it.
Absolutely.
All right. You can do it. So talk about, and then, we're going to open up for questions, and then at the end do a blessing prayer. Before that, we open up for questions. I'm going to show people how they can just join the 45-day
Sure.
challenge. I mean, it's the freaking slider right on the front of the website. And by the way, we're actually doing another update on the website. We've got a user interface specialist team with us that's helping with all of that stuff. Because again, my responsibility, Master Lama Rasaji's responsibility, is to make that the best site, the most user-friendly site, and the most best converting site to accomplish the goal of what the creator's given us for that site. So that's what we're doing. The last question here: does Adam and Eve show up again in human history?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, and they show up as two different people, but both are significant in history. So we know that in Hebrews, the Apostle Paul is connecting dots between Judaism and the beginning of the Christian movement. By the way, was called a cult at the time, by the way, the fish cult at the time. So he's trying to connect the dots. And in Hebrews, this is his last epistle before he's beheaded, and he has his peers in there. And he's talking about this being Melchizedek. And he basically says that in short footage that Master Rabbi Jesus was Melchizedek's high priest. Now it's so as Adam passes away, he goes through many lifetimes that what most of us would call are meaningless lifetimes, in order to pay for some of the sins that were done, and mainly killing himself so many times in that incarnation, because that is about as sacrilegious suicide. Even the Catholic Church, like that is a big
Yeah.
big deal. So anyhow, about shortly, not too long after the flood, there is this great being as India started to retake, and the civilization that was once in Lemur is now taking root in India, right? And then Nepal and Tibet. And it's like really pure after the flood, and several decades after the foliage is back and it's grown. About 100 years later in Nepal, there is the seventh child born into this poverty-stricken family. And that being is called Gorthnath. And he's thrown out because the family cannot. So they wrap him in swaddling clothing. And what I'm going to tell you is going to blow your mind. That there were trucks that would come by and take the cow dung that was on the streets, because cattle and ox and stuff would just walk the streets pulling ancient wagons and stuff. And they even then used it for fertilizer. So they had these trucks that would, not trucks, but wagons and stuff. They would come by and they would pick up the cow dung. Well, the mom and father went and threw the baby in a pile of you know what. And then when the person who was doing this, that was their job, went to start to dig through you know what, they found the baby, thank God. And in the process, the mother and the father began to raise the baby. This being was the seed of Adam, the original Adam, and he became the greatest yoga master in a 10,000 year period. And in the process, he shows up in the human drama in Genesis with Abraham, and he is the very same being that in Hebrews the Apostle Paul is referring to as Melchizedek. And when you understand how poetic Abba is, and then later Jesus is the high priest and sometimes referred to as the second Adam, you just see how it just poetically all fits. But Melchizedek / Gorthnath, the founder of Hatha Yoga, the stretching and conditioning yoga, which is one of the three pillars of Tai Chi Gong, that in this process, he, with Uncle Enoch, is one of his early disciples that he trains. We know what happens to Enoch. After 365 days, he's taken up into heaven without death. A lot of people in the Lamasery today believe that Melchizedek has never died, ever. If that's possible, then he's lived well over 10,000 years, and God has given back to Adam over tenfold of the redemption that Adam did. And in doing this, Melchizedek said, with God's DNA, everything is possible. And even Jesus said, the last thing that we shall overcome will be death. Jimmie.
Absolutely. Very, very powerful. So, folks, hopefully this information, and there's a lot more to come, make sure you're tuning into these Patriot Lama shows. Also, when you're part of the COL private membership, we have what's called mastermind webinars where we're actually teaching people how to, set themselves up financially properly, and we're telling you here how to do it, but we're more or less coaching and bringing on Joseph Land, and we got a lot going on. Okay. But I want to show you how you get the 45-day challenge for free. And there's no excuse except that you're a procrastinator. You just don't want to change. And by the way, when I move my fingers, I ain't doing no Illuminati nonsense. I seen some, these little, I'm not even going to address these little, what do you call them? Trolls. Yeah, I'm not going to put my energy into the trolls anymore. I wanted to do it as a learning experience for people because you can stick up for yourself, but you don't get consumed in negativity. You don't want to be involved in that. You don't want that vibration coming to you. So let me go ahead and show you my screen. Let me make sure it pops up. Okay. So now you can see it, right, brother?
Yes, can see it and hear you, brother. Fine.
Okay, good. So whether you come here via mobile, which 70% of you do, and it looks like this, and by the way, we're still working on the front page. There's a lot. I had a great meeting this morning. There's a lot going on. We're getting a lot of good feedback and all this good information. Again, it's our responsibility to make this the best that it can be. So if you're coming in here, you're going to see the banner here for the 45-day challenge. And this one goes from the store to the 45-day challenge. And all you have to do is click on that link. Now I'm going to open it up desktop wise. Okay. While I'm on here right now. And so you just come, click on the 45-day challenge. Let me refresh this. Now it's going to go to the dashboard because I'm logged into as a 45-day challenge. You'll see the dashboard changes. So when I click on here, it's going to open up this. All you need to do is go down and click on the start your 45-day challenge now. You come to a registration form. It's secure. There is security. Okay. It's encrypted. You give us your email and you create a password. Create a password and then confirm it. I mean, these steps to get what you're getting on the other side are the easiest steps on the planet to make it happen. And believe me, we'll continue to try to make them as easy as possible. We want to do that for everybody because we want as many people to become a 45-day challenge of folks as possible. But when you do that, you're going to land on what's called the members dashboard, what we call the Circle of Life community. And within the Circle of Life community, you have the 45-day challenge. You have the Circle of Life ebook. You have testimonials. You have the private membership if you eventually want more of the Lama and all that. You can read about that. Everything you need for the 45-day challenge, from the documents to the ebook to the testimonials if you want more encouragement, and to the 45-day challenge task list, which, by the way, this page, and we're working on reducing the image sizes a little bit megabyte wise, or it's actually even lower than megabyte wise. We're making it faster, but you just follow this along. We're also taking input from people that are doing the 45-day challenge to make this better for you. Okay. And we will always do that. So it's very simple. You're in there, you've got all the documents you need, you got the task list that you need, you got the Circle of Life ebook that you need, and testimonials to keep you motivated to get her done. You
Amen.
need to get her done.
Absolutely.
You need to get her done, folks. And 2022, start moving now, because if you think last year, 2020 and 2021 was a roller coaster, oh boy, you don't even understand what's coming in 2022. So let's open up for some questions, and let's ask the Llama some questions. And if you got a question for the Patriot, I'll answer it too. And then we're going to end this here in about 5 to 10 minutes with a prayer and blessing for all of you in 2022, all of you here live, and all of you that watch this recording in the future. But there's no excuse. Go read what gets me, Master Lama Rasaji, is that people, they just don't take action, right? Everything's free.
That's it.
And then if you want to evolve and you want to become a private member, well, goodness gracious, 50 cents a day, below 50 cents a day. And then if you want to learn how to be a teacher, well, we're creating that ladder for people, because our goal is to put a teacher in every county in the United States, in every region of the planet. Okay.
Amen.
We have a teacher. They have 107 students, and now we got our 144,000.
Amen.
Okay. And just with those people, as they're evolving, as they're going into the 4D and the 5D, being able to access that, boy, this world's going to change. And it is changing, right? So, okay, we got a question here. Okay, so Master Lama Rasaji, are the Nazarenes connected to the Essenes? If so, explain. Thank you.
Well, I've heard talk of that from different times, not so much the lamasery, but outside the lamasery. And, they say that even in California today, that there's groups that are spinoff of the Essenes. Now, whether they are directly linked to the Essenes or the Nazarenes, I really, really don't know the answer to that question. I mean, I could do some research and let you know down the road, and I'd be happy to do that. It's the first time I've ever been asked a question, so it's a great question. Thank you for answering. And maybe next time I'll have a little bit more, Jimmie.
Absolutely. Well, this is a great question from Brother Brent. Master Lama Rasaji, does hell exist, and who is it reserved for? Also, how do the sins of Adam and Eve play a role in that? Is reincarnation judgment to work out sins from our lives? Boy, that's a few questions there, Brother Brent.
That's Brett. He's so sharp. He's trying to sneak in 3 or 4 in one. Way to go, Brett. He's been doing his 45 days. Yeah. The simple answer is yes, but I want to go a little bit more into detail, and that is 4D is where most of this has happened. And for most people that are conscious of 3D, the 4D is in the unconscious. We spend most of our time in sleep, our consciousness in the 4D in that time. And we're working out things all the time. Most people, when they go through separation and they pass on, they have what we call in Tibet, we actually have a book called The 49 Days of Death. It's very common, but it's more for the unconscious, which is 80 to 90% of the people go through that process. One of the best reads along those in this area, Brett, and other people who are interested in what happens shortly after death, is the man who wrote the Celestine Prophecy, second book called The 10th Insight. And he brings up something that a very famous psychiatrist, psychologist by the name of Dick Stupkin in the 1970s and 80s were putting people through hypnosis, and he realized they were starting to remember things before their birth. And then he started realizing they were going through death processes. And little did he know that over the next 15 to 20 years, he would document 5,000 cases. I think that's pretty significant, right? To basically prove that people had lived more than one single life. And a lot of these lives were just, they were just ordinary people, right? And it was very fascinating. But the two things, actually, the three things that show up, if you were to read any good Tibetan reading on the 49 days of death, and then you read a little bit about Dick Stumpkin, and you read James Redfield's 10th Insight, there's a common denominator what happens. And what it proves, how strong your belief and how the law of attraction works, even when you're consciously not implementing it, right? It's like Ford said, that created Ford cars, whether you believe you can, you believe you can't, you're still right, right? So here's the key. Whatever you were truly in your heart and your belief was at the threshold of death is exactly what your experience was. So if you felt like you needed to face hell, or let's say you were scared of hell, remember, people give a lot more power to things like emotions of worry and emotions of fear than when they're first turning around and becoming a positive person that they might give to, let's say, love and joy. When you can give as much emotion to love, joy, prosperity as you can give to the fear, then you're going to turn your life around so fast. So, yes, reincarnation became something. Now, we want to get into this one day, and I think this warrants a definite Patriot and Lama episode down the road, Jimmie. But let's get into why the Akashic Records was originally created and why did it stay in place like it did. And is that something that God did, or is it something that God allowed, Jimmie?
Right. And so let me answer this. And listen, by the way, we don't care what people say about us. We really don't care. We're not Masons or Illuminati, all this nonsense.
Who the heck is that?
For God's sakes. We actually helped destroy that stuff in the past, and we're going to help destroy it here in the future. It's just amazing how you get people sitting around. Their life is so lonely that they can't do anything but continue to go in the wrong direction.
Living in that box.
Yeah. So let me go in here. There's a bunch of different questions, but I want to pick it out because we've got, I've got another thing at 1:30 I got to be on. So I got to make
only
sure.
got a couple more minutes. That's
I
it.
know. I want to go.
But boy, I've had a good time with you guys today.
Oh, it's been wonderful. Wonderful. Okay. Who built what? Now, the Lamasery, is that the Tai Chi Gung Lamasery or Dark Shem Lamasery? And who built it, the Lamasery? On the mountain?
A group of masters and lamas that came together early on, and people in the village did that in the Darchin province. I mean, it's like any of the village, right? You have builders and
Right.
and I don't mean Freemasons, but Masons that build blocks and stuff. And they had different people show up who had architectural design. There's a lot of feng shui understanding in the design of our lamasery. There's parts of it where there's, square bases, but with circular domes and stuff. And you're going to find that this conversation gets more interested in the years to come, Jimmie.
Yeah, and they said that some of these lamaseries seem so miraculous feats of construction. So they're right. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They're right.
Yeah.
About that. Well, Master Lama Rasaji, I'd love to be able to answer tons of questions. And, we'll have our team go back through the questions, the comments, and assist and help. And that's guided by Master Lama Rasaji. It's actually part of his family, his biological family, that handle that. So, and help him with that. So we will, anything that we didn't answer, we'll go back through and make sure that we answer. But let's wrap this up today with a blessing. And again, folks, before we go, 45-day challenge, no excuse. Go read the testimonials. Take 15 minutes of your life and read testimonials from brothers and sisters and see if you want some of that. Master Lama Rasaji, please close us in prayer and blessing.
Thank you, Abba, for everything that you're doing in our lives. Thank you for bringing us safely into this beautiful year of the Water Tiger 2022. Thank you. We know that your storm is coming and that you're going to teach us all how to be centered in you, grounded in you, and above all things, give us the focus that you want us to have in you. We know you live in us, you see through us, you hear through us, you even feel through us. You open up the pathways of light and everywhere we come. We know that darkness is being distinguished. We know the brightness of your light is going from the moon to the noonday sun. And as Peter said at grace, let the noonday sun rise up into your hearts. Remember, joy is of the saints, and only the saints can put it on, as you have said. We are all called to holiness because we are all called to be stewards and agents of your light and of your love. We are thankful that all of our families are being healed, transformed, made whole, and everyone that hears your voice, it's not my voice that you speaking through me, are made whole in your light and your holiness, protecting all the families throughout the years, giving us the best and most prosperous year all on My Patriots Network, the Circle of Life, open up doors for Sheriff Mack, bring us more constitutional sheriffs. We are so thankful that everything you're doing, anoint Genius Steve and the Body Align products, and let us bring into creation products that you bless and praise. To you we give all glory and all light, and you touch everyone's heart. Amen.
Amen. Brothers and sisters, remember something. You are what you think. So think the best of yourself and think the best of others. If it isn't positive and it doesn't lift someone up, do not say it. Really work on what your surroundings are. Control your environment. Fill it with beautiful frequencies, positivity. And anyone coming in that's going to bring negative energy in around you into your environment, remove them. We love you. We will see you next Thursday, but make sure you get into the 45-day challenge, lock into those daily llamas, lock into these Patriot Lama shows, and we're going to help you get through this in a very prosperous and awesome way. Take care. God bless. See you the next time.